It's springtime and we have an abundance of eggs, so we're going to freeze dry them. Hi, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene, and we are the Provident Preppers. Today we are going to freeze dry some of our beautiful farm fresh eggs because it's springtime and we have an abundance of them, and that will enable us to be able to use them during times when we don't have the fresh eggs and still have the fresh egg flavor.
Yeah.
So what we've found as we've experimented with this before is that we're not going to put them on the freeze dry trays inside the house. We're going to slide those trays inside the freeze dryer and then dump the eggs in there just to, what? Make it so I don't make a mess.
To avoid the mess.
Not that I have a history of making a mess or anything like that. Yeah, no history of making a mess. So, and the other thing with farm fresh eggs, actually sometimes you have a little surprise when you crack the egg. And for those of you that aren't familiar with farm fresh eggs, do you see how beautiful and dark that yolk is? That tells you that it's rich in vitamins, nutrients, and flavor. So these are really precious to us, but we'll crack them one at a time and put them into the blender like that, just to make sure that we don't get any bad eggs. And if you notice, all of our shells will be going in this bucket because those are incredibly powerful for use in the garden because of all of the minerals and everything that's in them. So we always make sure that we repurpose those eggs.
So there's typically about 4 eggs in a cup. These trays hold about 4 cups each, so about 16 eggs will go on each tray. And we will have those for a time when maybe eggs aren't quite as abundant. Now we've got the Vitamix full of eggs. We're going to blend that just for a short time on low speed, just enough to get it smoothed out. So here we go. Okay, we'll take these out and put them on the trays in the freeze dryer. With the trays in the freeze dryer, we are now going to put the egg onto the trays and just making sure that we don't overfill these, and we'll want all of the trays to be filled to the same depth so that it will freeze dry evenly. This is a batch of eggs. It says it only took 20 hours and 15 minutes, but that can't be right. So I've got to figure out what's wrong with the meter. It took 21.63 kilowatt hours.
And do you see these little guys? It's springtime. And so every year we want to get a new little crop of chicks. So this time there's 9 of them, and they're all the same variety, so that we will know when we start to rotate the chickens a few years from now which of the chickens are getting old. It's really hard when they're all the same variety to know which of the hens aren't laying anymore. So here are adorable little chicks.
Since we don't like to waste anything, we're going to take these eggshells and crush them up and just compost them. Some people like to dry them out and grind them up and feed them back to the chickens to supplement their calcium, but we just prefer to take them out and compost them in our garden. We've got these eggs out of the freeze dryer. My meter said they took 20 hours, but it was more like a day and a half, so that should have been maybe 40 hours, maybe a little more, but anyway, it is what it is. I'll figure that part out. And let's talk about the eggs.
So they're beautiful. They're kind of, how would you describe this texture? Kind of a crystal. It's not a crystal. It's beautiful, right? It just kind of really flakes. It's nice and dry. Does not have the really nasty smell that powdered eggs has. It smells really good. I am not going to taste this raw because these are raw eggs, and I'm not a fan of raw eggs. So we're gonna just put them in the bowl and kind of crush them up so that they're a little bit smaller when we go to rehydrate them. I know what I want to say. They're like flakes, right? They're like really pretty,
like potato flakes.
Shiny flakes. And the texture is just really nice. So we'll see how this works. Let's get them packaged up.
Here's our bowl of eggs, and it's actually heavier than I thought. I thought, well, it'll be about the same weight as like potato flakes. This is definitely a little bit more dense.
And it's interesting because it feels really light, right? But it is just a little bit more dense. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is when it comes to reconstituting, there are two schools of thought. One is that you want a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's kind of hard to get just a tablespoon. 1 tablespoon of egg to 1 tablespoon of water. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cook these. So I'm gonna put 3 tablespoons of egg in here, but then let's put 6 tablespoons of egg in this one. This is 6, right? 6.
Yep.
Okay, but we'll put 3 tablespoons of water in each one, and then we're gonna let it set while we package these, and then we're gonna fry up some scrambled eggs and see what the difference and what we like reconstituted as.
Here are the eggs that we are reconstituting. This bowl has 1 part egg to 1 part water, and you can see it's kind of looking like regular eggs would look like. This bowl is 2 parts egg to 1 part water, and it's a little bit thick, and we are going to give this just a few more minutes to see how this works out. As we're watching these reconstitute, this one's kind of thin, this one's kind of thick, so we're going to do the Goldilocks thing, and we're going to try one right in the middle that we hope will be just right. So instead of 3 or 6, we're going to do 4.5 tablespoons of egg, and we are going to add 3 tablespoons of water again, and we'll see if this comes out just perfect. Do a little stirring here to kind of get it on its way, and we'll find out what is going to work out best. These are the eggs that we are reconstituting. This bowl is the 1 part egg to 1 part water. To me that seemed a little thin, but it's not too bad. The middle one here, we did 1.5 parts egg to 1 part water, and this seems about, to me, to be about the consistency of a normal fresh egg. This we did 2 parts egg to 1 part water, and this seems kind of thick. You can see it. It's just a little thick. So I think the Goldilocks approach worked. I think this one right here is probably about as close to fresh egg as you can get. As far as the amount of egg that we got, this is about 64 eggs. We didn't actually count them, but we figure 4 eggs per cup, and the trays hold 4 cups. So about 64 eggs, and we got 8 containers. We got 8 containers, including this pint jar. So that means that there's about 8 eggs in each one of these packages.
And they're packaged for long-term storage, which is really fantastic. I don't know how long that is. I like the freeze-dried eggs so much better than the powdered eggs. I actually refuse to use the powdered eggs because I think they smell so bad. But these, there's no bad smell. They reconstitute really well. They look very close to the original state. If you're doing this at home with eggs that you've purchased at the store, don't be surprised if it's not this bright of a color, because our eggs are homegrown, and so the yolk is very dark and rich, and that's just what happened, and more flavorful. So these will taste really good. So right now, what I'd like to do is fry up all 3 of these and see what we think the difference is. Okay, this is our 1-to-1 ratio. And you can see that it's a little bit on the thin side, but overall it's not bad at all. So the eggs have beautiful texture, right? I probably should have stirred this one just a little bit sooner, but looks very, very much like regular eggs. Okay, so we'll take that one. This is the 1 to 1.5 ratio. It looks pretty good to me. Let's see how it cooks up. This is the 1 to 2 ratio. To me, this is just way too thick. Normal eggs don't really look like that. Yeah, this one's just too thick, if you ask me. See, it just doesn't cook up like normal. Definitely needed some more water. Okay, see, it's just, I don't think this one works well. I think it's ugly for one thing. And it's not the texture of regular eggs. Okay, and just because I can, I think I'm going to try a couple of fresh eggs. Okay, we've established that the eggs, freeze-dried, look beautiful, but now we need to taste them and see. So I cooked all of these up along with some fresh ones, because you have to have the marker, right? You have to have something to put it up against. Okay, so 1 to 1 next. This is the one that seemed like it was a little bit thin.
But the taste is good.
Okay, can you taste any difference between this? Except for this one, like I should have scrambled them a little bit more because you can still see a little white in them. I can't taste the difference
I'm
at
really
all.
not tasting any difference.
Okay. This one. This is 1 to 1.5. No, it's too thick. Because taste this one again. The 1 to 1.5 is actually too thick, isn't it? I mean, they all taste like the same.
Yeah,
What do you think? Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the 1.5?
I actually think I do. But it probably doesn't make a whole lot of difference because we're just adding water, which gets cooked out.
So it's kind of a little bit more of a texture thing.
Yeah.
So 1 to 2 doesn't work.
Now this...
No, 1 to 2 doesn't work.
The color's a little bit different. It's a little darker.
And it's kind of
And the
rubbier
texture's
sort of.
just-
It's
yeah,
just like too
texture
thick.
doesn't seem to work as well. So I'm good with fresh or 1 to 1 or 1 to 1.5.
So maybe the magic is between 1 and 1.5. Because to me, the 1 to 1 seems a little bit lighter. We're eating a lot of eggs here. Anyway, okay, but bottom line is we can take all these additional or extra eggs that our hens are laying, especially in the springtime, and freeze dry them so that they are perfectly good to reconstitute and eat later, which is quite a blessing, I think, because eggs are a foundation in our diet. And part of it's because we have hens, but we use them for everything, from baking to eating fresh and things and fried rice.
Yeah.
So, and now for the question of the day.
How do you like your eggs? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.